voice is pretty audible. Yeah, please, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I am thankful to the management of Account Services and Dr. Ashok Rathorji for inviting me as a chairperson for today's session of this webinar series on environment protection and public health. The theme of today's session is environment laws, Indian and international perspective. And the presentation on this topic will be given by our guest speaker, Professor Onkar Nath Tiwari. Environmental law or environmental and natural resources law is a collective term describing the network of treaties, statutes, regulations, and common and customary laws addressing the effect of human activity on natural environment. Environmental legislation is a collection of many laws and regulations aimed at protecting the environment from harmful actions. To address environmental issues that India and other countries face, it is imperative and important to initiate at all levels: global, regional, national, local, and community. The current focus on environment is not new. The need for conservation and sustainable use of natural resources is reflected in the constitutional, legislative, and policy framework of various countries, including India, at the global level. Many major environmental laws dealing with protection of environment can be divided into various categories, such as pollution at different levels, like water pollution, air pollution, land pollution, and even noise pollution, environment protection, public liability insurance, national environment tribunal, animal welfare as well as wildlife protection, forest conservation, biodiversity, Indian Forest Service, and many others. The list is very, very long. India has played a major role in the development of international environmental law. The former Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, was one of the two heads of states who participated in the United Nations Conference on Human Environment held at Stockholm in 1972. Since the days of Stockholm Conference, India has been an active participant in the multilateral environmental negotiations. The leadership position that India assumed at the multilateral environmental negotiation has helped in including provisions in treaties that better reflected the realities of the developing countries. This in turn has helped in the shaping and development of Indian environmental law. The theme of today's webinar is so broad that many webinars may be arranged on different categories of environmental laws. Therefore, without taking much of your time, I would request the organizers to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Onkarnath Tiwari, and invite him to present various aspects of environmental laws at national and international levels. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your word of wisdom on importance of the environment law to understand by everyone. So, I
Thank you, sir.
invite. Yes, thanks a lot, sir. Just I will invite our guest speaker. I'm just sharing presentation also so that everyone can have more understanding. Give me a moment. Yeah, here it is. So today we have the session on environment law, Indian and international perspective. Our guest speaker is Onkar Nath Tiwari, doctor and professor who is working in GLA University, Mathura, and he has worked with so many organizations and also published numerous books on environment law, right, intellectual property rights, and also have delivered many sessions, many invited talk related to environment, law of contract, transfer of property act, human rights, intellectual property rights, law of evidence, and many things. And also, he has been a class second gazetted officer in government of Uttar Pradesh. He has various life membership such as IUCN Germany, All India Law Teachers Congress Delhi, Vidhi Bharati Parishad Delhi, and many more. He has also attended many conferences related international conferences like Germany sponsored capacity building program for South Asia, law teacher teaching environment law in year 1998, and also he has been in National University of Singapore, and he has presented so many papers in different countries like Singapore, USA, Mexico, Japan, and many other countries. So I'm just will I invite Professor Omkar Nath Tiwari sir for delivering her talk on environment law. Over to sir, Dr. Omkar Nath Tiwari sir. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, please. Over to you, sir.
good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm
sir.
reaching
Pretty
you.
audible. Yeah, pretty audible. Yes.
Okay. So, uh, Honorable Bipinji,
Yes, good
the
evening, sir.
participants, those were, hello, the participants who are connected with this online webinar. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Account Services who have given me an opportunity to be with you in such an important, significant, and relevant issue. It's a great moment for me, basically, to join you all. Yesterday we saw mushrooming of so many lectures, so many webinars, and hopefully we might have gone through the ideas of so many learned speakers, basically on the issue of environment protection and environment research. We celebrated this environmental protection World Environment Day, just like a marriage ceremony, and hopefully we all satisfied knowing this fact that we have done our job in a very beautiful manner. Well, I've been told to say a few lines in relation to environmental law, the perspective for being Indian and international. So, obviously, we know that the area of environment is such vast, having so many dimensions, it's not easy to cover within such a short span of time. And you might be expecting of me that I should be precise and focused in my delivery. So environment, I think, is known to all of us. There's nothing new. And if we start from lawmaking, either at international forum to the municipal level, and at present, hopefully, might be having more than 1,000 documents in relation to the environment and environmental related issues. And I could remember the sentence of Boutros Ghali, ex-Secretary General, who said, United Nations is a paper mill, producing a lot of papers daily. This was a statement of a great chairman or head of the word family. And at the domestic level too, taking from constitution and down to the other sister municipal laws which have been enacted by state legislature and parliament as well, we may have good number of laws. List is quite long, and again we have so many policies on each and every score of environment and its related issues. So very quickly, I would like to give a very precise picture of international perspective and the national law technically, and my own perception in relation to the environment as such. So honestly speaking, I'm not going to teach you the lines of the law written in a particular text or in law, because I think you might be having all those information with you. The basic implication of all these legislative steps and measures, the role of individual, including mine, and what we really are projecting us in relation to the environment. What kind of responsibilities we people are owing. That's more important than the black and white little laws. So my approach is basically anthropocentric. Well, since I have been allotted a topic where I am expecting of that I should go in detail about the international law and as well as the municipal law. So very briefly, I would be outlining the journey of international law in relation to environment. It starts from basic premises, and these basic premises or assumptions are the concept of terra nullius, common heritage of mankind, global commons, and orga omnis. And there is one Latin term which phrase we are using, sic utere tuo at polinum non leads. So when we talk about orga omnis, we used to come to explain that the state is responsible towards others. Every state, each state is responsible. Whatever you are doing, your responsibilities goes far, far away. And the last one talks about one must use his own property or his own rights in such a manner so that you may not injure the rights and property of others. So these are the basic 5 premises when we talk about international perspective on environmental law. And obviously we know there are so many sources of law, at least in the case of environment. Normally scholars say that hard law and soft law. So hard law means those laws which are binding on the states, and the soft laws are merely the delineation of the principles on which a state has to trade with. Now, the first case at the International Forum came way back in the year 1898. It's known as Behring Fur sub-arbitration case, in which the US territory was transgressed beyond 3 nautical miles, causing injury to the United States. So this arbitration came out with the proposition that, well, you cannot injure the rights of the other state. So that was a very primitive stage of environmental development. Trial smelters arbitration case, it was the case of the year 1941, in which it's a case between United States and Canada. So there is one company, Trial Smelter, and the sulfur emission of Trial Smelter company resulted into a huge loss of United States crop. And the damage was such, whereas United States had to move before arbitration tribunal seeking damages. And the basic principle on which the damages are awarded to United States and the Canada was asked to pay the damage. That the basic principle designed at that time by the arbitration tribunal is no state has the right to use or permit to use its territory in such a manner as to cause injury to others. So this was the basic platform, the philosophy from where this international law originated in relation to environmental scenario. Now, since then, we moved into a different era, and documentation process went on wheels. So the first document on environmental conservation protection was United Nations Conference on Conservation and Utilization of Natural Resources. This was the first document in 1948. And then we came with the Declaration on Human Environment, that is known as the Stockholm Declaration, the famous declaration about which people are talking about, in which you just told Mrs. Gandhi's role and role of Indian delegation. That I don't, it's not my concern. I don't want to talk on those issues, what they dealt with and what happened during Stockholm. It's not my concern. So that human environment, see, the name is human environment, the Stockholm Declaration on the Human Environment. So declaration, we might be knowing that, or we know that declaration has got no legal value. It's just a enunciation of principles on which the states have to move in relation to environmental protection. What are the provisions? How many principles were adopted? That's I will discuss in little after some time. Then, in the year 1974, we have another document known as Cocoyoc Declaration, and the theme of the Cocoyoc Declaration was sustainable development, about which we people are talking at the moment since 1989, and again sustainable goals 2030. So the origin of this word we could have in the year 1974 in the Cocoyoc Declaration. Then World Charter for Nature 1982, Nairobi Declaration 1982. This declaration talks about educating people. It casts a duty on the state parties that you will have to educate people on environmental issues and environmental protection as such. How you will do that? That's your business. Then came Frontline Commission. It's just a recapitulation of Cocoyoc Declaration in another format. Caring for Earth Strategy, 1991. Then comes Real Declaration, Earth Summit, popularly known as Earth Summit 1992. And in the Earth Summit, we adopted so many documents. Now, number one is Declaration of Principles regarding environmental protection, and these principles are 22 in number. Convention on Climate Change, Biodiversity Convention, Agenda 21, that's an agenda for 2021, and Forest Principles. So these are the achievement of Earth Summit, which held in Brazil 1992. Then comes Millennium Summit in the year 2000. And then Rio Plus Johannesburg Summit, which talks about, we have WEHAP, water, energy, health, agriculture, and biodiversity. And Rio Plus 20 Brazil again in the year 2012, we had a discussion about the future we want. It's a just summary. And the last one is in the year 2015. It's known as United Nations Sustainable Development Summit, in which we came out with 17 SDG goals for 2030. Now, this is the brief of the documented history in case of environmental concern at the global level. Now, now my concern is Stockholm. Let me start from Stockholm. The Stockholm Principle, we know that in the Stockholm, 5 peculiar features emerged. Number one, adoption of declaration. And this declaration consists of 7 truths and 26 principles regarding environmental protection. Basically, it was a kind of liability on the states that how you'll have to proceed with. Then resolution passed for condemning the nuclear weapons test, NWT. The third one is action plan for protection and preservation of environment. And fourth one was observing a day in the name of World Environment Day, that was on the 5th June, which we celebrated yesterday. And creation of a new machinery in order to regulate, in order to monitor, in order to evaluate, in order to enforce the mechanism for environment protection, that is UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. And the last one is prevention of marine pollution. That is known as anti-dumping measures. So these were the 6 achievements during which we had in the Stockholm Declaration. Now coming to the 7 truths, that's very important. And I don't go to, in that much detail because we don't have sufficient time. And well said by Bipinji that one aspect of environment may take years to discuss, what to talk of hours. So what pinches me in relation to environmental law or environmental governance, in relation to international framework, the first truth, which Stockholm Declaration admits, and it's really very touchy, might be for you equally. Man is the creator and molder of his own environment. Look here, my dear brothers, man is the creator and molder of his own environment, man, nobody else. We are talking about creating awareness among the society, among the people, so that you go for protecting the environment to whom you are going to make aware. Well said. Man is the creator. You are creating. You are molding the environment. You don't blame me. I should not blame you. So the ultimate responsibility was given to the man. And where this man is, I don't know. You might be knowing where that man is. Because if you see the figure, Tata, the moment you started coming down with so many documents, environmental loss is perceptible. Species extinction is with you. Maybe animal, maybe plant. That figure is something different. But when documentation started, environment started deteriorating. Why? Because the crux, the focus, the theme of the environment in the year 1972 was human being. That's why the basic title of this declaration is Human Environment. And now you started recognizing the significance, interdependence of environment with the man in the year 1972. That's why you obligated, enjoined with the duty. So we have to find out this man, whether this man is man or something else. The second one is the protection and improvement of human environment is a major issue which affects the well-being of people and economic development throughout the world. Nothing new, nothing new. The third one is man has constantly to sum up experiences and go on discovering, inventing, creating and advancing. This is very important. So man has constantly to sum up. No, you have to sum up. There is no endless process. And why will you sum up? Experiencing, discovering, inventing, creating and advancing. So latitude is there, options are there, but the theme is you have to sum up. The fourth one is, in the developing countries, most of the environmental problems are caused by underdevelopment. This is the politics, and that politics is not the matter of discussion here. You admitted that is all happening because of underdevelopment, and this was a kind of I can say terrorism of the rich countries, opulent countries, prosperous countries, developed countries, that the total burden should be shifted to those countries who are underdeveloped. The fifth one is national growth population continuously present problems for the prescription of preservation of environment, and adequate policies should be adopted to face these problems. And the sixth one is, a point has been reached when we must shape our nation with care for the environment and its consequences. So sixth one is most important. Like first one, a point has been reached when we must shape our action. So the ultimate focus is on our own action, and this action is not arbitrary. this action has some kind of circumscribing scenario in which you have to take care of environmental consequences. So whatever you are trying to do, you must keep in mind that unless you take care in shaping the environment, things won't go in a happy way or happy mode. And the last one is accepting this goal demand acceptance of responsibility by citizens and communities all sharing equitably in common efforts. So see here, you are nobody to make me aware. I am nobody to make you aware. If you go through these 7 truths, it already makes clear, it's more than clear that we are meant for conserving, protecting environment, whether we are doing or not, that's my concern, because the consequence will have to be faced by me equally. So document is helpless. It can't do anything. Simple narration won't serve purpose. And any narration, why we are coming with such narration? Some people say that when society fails, law comes into picture. What I say, no, not at all. Never. Society is the supreme. Law is the abstraction. Law is helpless. Law cannot serve your purpose. And if you make any law, you go on making so many laws, but unless the society feels that it's my responsibility, we cannot enforce the mechanism of law, the institutions of law, the system of law, because law may be a means of social change, but we are the only authorities, only persons, or only human beings who can or who are enjoined with the duty to enforce the provisions of law, because we made law. Law never comes from a sky or in vacuum. So anyway, so these are the 7 truths. And if I'm going to, if I may explain those 26 principles, I think that is not very much relevant here. But again, quickly, it talks about right to freedom, respect for natural resources, obligation to protect environment, strategy and planning, economic development, the role of science and technology. Now we come to 1992, that is Earth Summit, Brazil, Brazil Earth Summit. I just quickly, I will focus on certain principles, and those principles are very important. These principles are 3 principles are very figured principles under Earth Summit. And what are these? Intergenerational equity, the World Forum, the Global Masters, they came out with these 3 principles, and the first one is intergenerational equity. Then second one is precautionary approach, and the third one is polluter pays principle. These are the 3 principles which have been evolved during Earth Summit, and by and large, majority of the states in the globe accepting these principles in order to nourish their, or in order to plan, or in order to go further about the environmental protection. Our Supreme Court has already in so many cases admitted these principles, and that I will let you know subsequently. Then it talks about the state obligations. What is the obligation of the state? The state is under a duty to come out with the policy laws, policy issues, lawmaking, information supply, and mutual cooperation. The second block talks about these 4. And these 4 are, the state has to make so many policies in order to implement or these laws or protect environment. Number 1, you have to go for making laws. You have to be cautious in relation to information supply and the mutual cooperation. And citizen cooperation is also a matter of concern in the Earth Summit. Now, if these are the 2 major documents in which we dealt with environmental protection as such. Then, if I start from domestic legislation, because that domestic legislation is equally important. If I come to the constitution, because I paucity of time, I don't want to go in that detail in relation to international lawmaking process. But believe in me, in all these documents, principles have been involved, leaving the states to adopt their policies, to adopt such laws so that you can go for protecting environment to the best possible manner. Now come to the constitution. With the basic document of the Government of India, or you can say that we are being governed by this document. Article 47. Article 47 says, this is the basic article, that the state shall regard the rising of the level of standard and nutrition of living of its people and improvement of public health as amongst its primary duties. So Article 47 comes under Chapter 4, which talks about directive principles of state policy. 48A, the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. Then Article 51 AG, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So these are the three basic articles and